Alrighty, thank you for joining us today, guys. Happy Friday, happy Friday. Just give it another minute. Nice to see the usual faces, and then also Clarence. I don't know if I've seen you before, so happy to have you. Alrighty, we'll get it rolling. We'll kick it off with a little around the horn of introductions. AE, I'll sling it over to you.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in again on this Friday.
Guys, happy Friday.
Hey guys, sorry, why? Hey guys, it's Bobby.
Hey everyone, happy Friday. Thanks for joining.
Bobby is finally settled, so he's back in the game, and then Wally, I noticed no soccer commentary this week, huh? No football commentary.
Oh no.
Ooh, I thought AU was gonna make a comment, but you beat him to it. Yeah, unfortunately, there's always next time.
It's quiet over there right now. It's quiet.
You got a lot of unhappy people. Yeah.
Oh man. Alrighty. Well, appreciate everyone joining us this week, and just wanted to, take this week to talk a little bit about, emissions and kind of what they are, what the strategy behind them is. You see a lot of these things in DeFi where, they all come in different forms, whether you call it liquidity mining or rewards or incentives or there's all different versions of essentially the same concept. And then yAxis has its own sort of approach. So wanted to kind of make this a partially an educational segment about kind of what emissions are, the role they play, and what is the value and the reasoning behind them, and then kind of tying it back into yAxis and sort of the broader vision. So that's generally the path that we will take today, and then we'll get to some of the questions that were asked ahead of time, and then anybody that wants to ask live questions, feel free to fire away, and we'll get to as many as we can. So with that, just to kind of kick things off, we want to again just kind of foster some community education this week about you know what is the role that emissions are playing, so we can help drive some intelligent, well-informed decisions, and drive y-axis in a great future direction with its emission strategy, and really maximize the value from the emission schedule that we sort of have ahead of us. And it's rather timely given the kind of era 2 forum discussion, and kind of getting really close to needing to kind of make a decision there and implement. So implement a strategy. So wanted to take this time to reinforce that idea, and give you a little bit of background to help, like I said, make a well-informed decision. And not even specific to era 2, this also carries through through later eras as well. So wanted to talk briefly about what is the role that emissions play. So basically, in a nutshell, like, you're just incentivizing users to use your platform. You're paying people to kind of use your product. And I would say outside of the DeFi space, one of the best parallels to kind of draw here is kind of Amazon. So what Amazon did for years and years was basically sell their product under cost for a long time to kind of get people to use their platform. And so they're essentially operating at a loss. So they're essentially paying users to use their platform by operating kind of under cost. So that's sort of the general parallel, and you do that to get people to use your platform. And another one that's more DeFi specific would be Uniswap with the uni liquidity mining, and then they sort of made the bridge that everybody hopes to make, which is not needing to use your own token incentives to draw users once you kind of hit that initial bootstrap period. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. But with that, we'll let me sling it over to AE just to talk for a bit about kind of protecting your own token, because at the end of the day, when you're paying users to use your platform in your own token, you need to really be mindful of that. So swing it over to AE for a little discussion on that.
Yeah, thanks, Summer. So as you said, we have to be careful that we're not overpaying users, because they essentially get free tokens that they can always sell off for actually realizing their APY. We want to give them reasons to hold the token. But outside of just the project itself, we have to realize that the current market conditions are uncertain. We talked a little bit about that on you heard last week. And if people are in an uncertain market, they are more eager to sell off tokens for stable coins, or just another asset like BTC, which is more likely to hold its price in the short term. We've seen that in Area 1. We've seen that people bought into our token, but as the market conditions worsened, selling of our token also got worse. And we want to learn from this. Obviously, we want to make sure that we don't repeat. Not I won't say mistakes, but I would try to make sure that we don't cause the same conditions that led to this. And the suggestion that I proposed was that we go with a ramped up approach. We don't go with aggressive emissions. We start small, and as our product shows that it can work with multiple strategies, that it can maintain high TVL without any bugs or any issues with users' funds, and we can ramp up emissions over time. And as we do that, we establish that the product works, that it's something that you want to commit to for the long term, and so we give users less of a reason to sell the tokens, because they can see that the product is something that they want to be an investor in as well, and not just a farmer. Obviously, one major reason that the token can have some bigger investment values, that some utility is coming to it. We're working on the gauges right now. Obviously, V3 is delayed, but the gauges are going to be part of the release. A major improvement, because initially all you could do with the token was just hold it and receive emissions and buyback revenues, but now you can also use the token to boost your APY in the vaults that you're using, or just in the staking gauges that you're using. So if you're farming the token, or if you're just farming your Link or your BTC or your ETH, and you're not actually staking yAxis, you're not getting as much APY as people who are staking yAxis. That gives you an incentive to also be staking yAxis, but it also means that people who aren't dumping the token are getting more of our token. So we're automatically balancing the dumping pressure. Another suggestion that I presented in regards to the buybacks was to reduce buybacks somewhat and use the CRV that we farm, because we're mostly sitting on Curve and we're going to be sitting on Convex in the future, is to convert some of our farm governance tokens into CVX CRV. That's basically locked up CRV into the Curve gauges that generates a revenue in the form of Curve 3 pool token, which is just a stable coin basically. That's another cash flow, which means that staking yAxis can become even more valuable, because not only are you generating yAxis emissions, not only are you boosting emissions to the vaults, but you're also getting paid in USD stablecoins. It's another cash flow, and the CVX CRV that's generating that cash flow is liquid, so we can sell it off for capital in the future if we need to as a DAO. There are some other suggestions. Summer had some suggestions. I know that other farm users have contributed so far, so make sure to check out the thread and give your thoughts on any ideas that have been presented, or present some of your own. Now on to Summer for the last topic.
Yeah, no, thank you for that, AE. I think it's just being mindful and flexible about, adapting to just the broader market conditions. And obviously, when we started Era 1, it was the middle of the heat of the bull run, and things have changed, and we need to adapt our approach as well. So these are just things to be mindful of, and I think the ramped up approach makes a lot of sense, and it seemed like we had some decent consensus around that on the forum. And then driving token utility through the gauges, like Curve's basically the best in class when it comes to that, the Curve ecosystem. So obviously we're kind of taking a page out of their playbook there. So I think it should be pretty should position us well moving forward. So that being said, like you said, definitely check out the forum post and contribute your thoughts, and we'll look to move forward from there and make a decision around Era 2. And then so I want to move on to kind of the next topic, and so we talked a little bit about what they are in a short nutshell version, like what emissions are, how you have to kind of be mindful and consider some external factors, and then what you can do to drive utility and drive people to continue to want to hold the token rather than take the emissions and sell them off, but actually be attracted to hold the rewards they receive. And that's, like I said, with gauges in Era 2, that is something that we're looking forward to. But in addition, what is the kind of value that emissions bring? So basically, like I mentioned before, I kind of hinted at where like Uniswap was successful in this, but you want to essentially use emissions to pay users, incentivize them to use your platform, and then eventually you want them to like your platform, like the user experience so much that they're willing to kind of use your platform and create value for the project that outweighs the dollar of rewards that you're actually giving them. So you essentially want to get to a condition where the value creation per dollar of emission is actually greater than the dollar of emission. And so to give an example of where this would work is if, let's say, our base yield is 10% for a link vault, somebody else's base yield is 10% for a link vault. If we can add some yAxis tokens on top, basically put our yield a little bit over the top, even at scale of large TVL, we'll basically pull all of that TVL over, because that small increase in yield, any rational actor, especially given our kind of security acumen, would obviously choose the higher yield. So you can have a small amount of emissions that can basically lead to some outsized gains and outsized impact. So and obviously that's going to create revenue, and that's where you get the condition where you're creating a larger you're creating more marginal value than the dollar amount of the emission. So that's sort of where we hope to be, and the sort of strategy behind it. And that was kind of part of the YIP9 sort of logic, and all of that when we went through with the token swap and the emission schedule. So in essentially achieving that condition is maybe not as critical today. I know, like Andrew Kang, he's a pretty prominent DeFi investor, put out a great thread the other day on Twitter talking about how Compound hasn't really achieved that yet, but everybody still views Compound as like a blue chip. So that's not an easy condition to reach, and it's maybe not super important today, but it's definitely a midterm goal. And it also becomes just more feasible as we kind of let the V3 vaults get under themselves, kind of like AE said, sort of establish themselves, and rolling out some better strategies from that point once they're well established and operating sort of as intentioned. And we also can kind of achieve that condition a little bit easier, targeting less competitive asset classes like a Link or even Ethereum and Bitcoin, as opposed to stable coins, where the stablecoin yield space is quite crowded, but Ethereum, pretty much everybody offers the same yield on Ethereum. So by offering a few percent of emissions on top, we can definitely create a lot more marginal value than the dollar amount of emission. So again, that's the condition that we're hoping to achieve, and that's sort of the goal and the mindset behind it. And at this stage, it's just about using emissions to bootstrap a user base, create that network effect, and have people enjoy using the product. And then you want to move towards retaining those users and convert them into sticky users. And then you want to generate future cash flows from those sticky users who enjoy the user experience, even in a non-emission environment. And that sort of leads us to our last point about facilitating the broader vision. So, we talked about this kind of at length, where you the end game is attracting a user base that doesn't really require emissions and just likes the security features of the product. They like the set and forget nature of the product. And so that's the sort of end game broader vision. And so you want to bootstrap that user base using emissions. So talking more DeFi native capital, crypto native capital, that might be a little bit more degenerate in nature, shall we say. And then you can prove that you operate at scale. And then you can kind of gain that trust and Lindy effect from the market. And then that sort of leads to sticky users and loyal capital that see value in the product after you've sort of gained that trust and Lindy effect, and you show you have staying power and ability to operate, securely at scale. And so that just feeds into that institutional capital strategy, which feeds into the strategic backing that yAxis got, etc. And so it's just much easier to market something that's already proven to operate safely and securely at scale for an extended period, and that's kind of able to be achieved by bootstrapping this crypto native capital to create the Lindy, and then sort of use the Lindy to scale down emissions and focus on capital that doesn't need emissions. So that's using emissions as a bridge and as a stepping stone, as like I mentioned, Uniswap had done effectively, and then sort of in another market vertical, like I mentioned before, where you're talking about Amazon kind of using the same model of paying for users, and then having people enjoy the platform and user experience. So that's kind of the general mindset and strategy behind emissions. And so with that, we'll plug. I guess I'll plug the forum post one more time, and recommend people add their comments, and then I'm gonna move right into the questions that were asked in advance. So Manuel asks, hi, I'd like to know if you are going to have auto compound pools under Ethereum. So Ethereum vaults, so we're going to have like Bitcoin Ethereum link vaults. So the Ethereum vaults themselves will auto compound when the strategies are harvested. Which means you're going to be earning more Ethereum, and it's sort of similar to how the harvests today are compounded back into 3CRV. But separately speaking, is the yAxis rewards will be received through gauges, and the gauges will not auto compound. So that's sort of the delineation there. So hopefully that answers your question. So Echo Patient asks, long time listener, first time caller. This may go without asking, but can we have an update on vault audits and launch? As I'm almost out of days to count down, a new date would be welcome. I appreciate the effort. You've been going strong for a while on the countdown and keeping us all excited and focused on the Era 2 vision. And I would say to that effect, probably shouldn't have set a hard deadline originally, just kind of given how the nature of these things work. But from here, I think the goal is just to release canonical vaults as soon as they're ready. It wouldn't really make sense to set like a conservative deadline and like a specific day that vaults are going to launch on this day, and then just like if they're ready, a few days before that, like just having them sit there in order to launch on that day, wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. Or if we had some part of the audit process drag on, and then we miss the deadline by a couple of days, and then it looks like we missed another deadline. So we're just kind of sticking to just communicating that couple of week delay. I'm sorry that it's not a concrete day for you to have the countdown, and appreciate your efforts there. But that's sort of more or less the mindset moving forward, and like just as soon as they're ready is the goal, and like sticking to that couple of week delay, making sure that able to launch a quality, safe, secure product. And we could go ahead and launch something unaudited or something, but that's just not the way that the project rolls. Want to put safety and security first always. So Lover Plaid asked, hi guys, would love to hear you discuss my suggestions as proposed on the forum. So with that, I'll give a little TLDR on the forum post for everybody to hear, and in case you haven't had a chance to read it. So Lover Plaid, I believe, goes under a slightly different name on the forum, said, they want us to make noise at launch, have periodic increases in rewards to attract attention. This individual supported a ramp up approach with lower initial emissions and wanted us to offer vault deposits that lock for more yAxis rewards. So like locking in capital in terms of like vault deposits for a longer time horizon to receive more rewards with possibly some sort of return and performance, returning the performance fee back to them in return for locking up for a longer amount of time. So that's sort of the TLDR of that post. And kind of my response to that would just be a lot of this is kind of already in the works, which I guess is good. Good, good minds think alike. There's going to be a concentrated marketing ramp around launch, which is planned to pack a lot of things into a 1 week period to kind of try to penetrate the noise of the space. Because agreed, to your point in that post about this being a noisy space, there's a lot of things going on everywhere. So try to do our part to penetrate that noise. And to your point, it does seem like there's decent consensus around starting with lower initial emissions and then ramping up to allow the vaults to get their feet under themselves at lower TVL and scale up emissions as we add strategies so the base yield can kind of support the emissions. To your point about periodic increases in rewards, if we go with the ramp up approach, then you would see increases over the course of the era. So we could, communicate that and advertise that appropriately. For locking, when it comes to your point about locking vault deposits for a longer time horizon, so I'll just give people a brief refresh on the difference between that and gauges. So gauges involve the locking of the yAxis token, and the longer you lock, the more rewards you receive, and you boost your vault deposit. And so basically, since your vault deposit would be boosted if you're doing that, then you'd also likely match your vault position duration to the yAxis lock time if you're maximizing for utility. Like it wouldn't really make sense to leave your boost there unused and then go deposit somewhere else. That wouldn't really make a whole lot of sense. So I think kind of inherently based on that design, you're going to get a locking essentially of people's deposits that matches the time horizon of their staking of yAxis and the gauges. But kind of that being said, the partner program will offer this type of structure where kind of like large sources of TVL will commit to lockup periods and earn some revenue share as you suggested. So obviously, locking up large sources of TVL for long periods will help provide some stability to TVL and then also, larger revenue generation. So I think, like I said, I think good minds think alike, and I think we're kind of already on many of the paths that you're looking for. And if you think that there's something else that I missed, feel free to toss it in the chat or general later or whatever it may be, and or forum works as well. Big Poppy is riding. He's like, give me the previews of the new site. And so Mr. can confirm, but Mr. can confirm, but the time frame is still looking like this weekend to kind of kick off the era. So we still look good there.
Yeah, we'll take care of you, Big Puppy. Previews are incoming. Promise.
Alrighty, and honestly, disappointed this week. We didn't have any food reviews. We were on a little streak there of some food reviews this week, but Poppy's riding, so I guess that's okay. So Nissan is giving us some cricket updates. England's just catching L's across the board. So Echo Patient is talking about this is a really good question about what are the next steps after the discussion on emissions? What's the route to implementation? So Bobby, I don't know if you wanna take that one. You're probably best positioned to answer that one.
Can you just repeat that one? Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. It'd just be what are the next steps after the discussion on emissions? So the forum era 2 posts that the discussion thread that we've got going on. So after we kind of have that discussion, what is the route to implementation from there?
So in terms of the tokens, how we actually do it is that we need to do a multi-sig transaction. So all the tokens are stored behind a multisig essentially. So then after we come to a conclusion on how we're going to allocate these tokens throughout the era, we just need to make a transaction through the multisig. So once the team has decided that, we'll then go ahead and execute that transaction. And once the person literally signs it using their ledger, then the rewards start ticking over. So yeah, I think we're going to wrap up the discussion pretty soon. I think we're we've got to a fair amount of consensus, the team at least. So it'll be nice to have a bit more input for sure from the community, just to make sure you've had your voice. So we'll share that kind of outline with the community so they can have an idea and they can kind of indicate whether or not they agree with that, just in case there's any major outcries against it. And if not, then we'll just go ahead. So yeah, it should be quite a smooth process to implementation.
Alrighty. Thank you for that. The Tisk asked, will there be marketing through a official subreddit for the canonical vaults and beyond? I don't think there's any plans for a yAxis official subreddit at the moment. But I know Big Poppy mentioned that he was the king of Reddit, so perhaps we can maybe coordinate with Big Poppy on something there. Wally, any thoughts on that?
So something that we're thinking about. So yeah, so maybe.
All right.
Well, actually, we are kind of working on this, but
Yes.
the current subreddit yAxis is not held by us, so we have to reclaim that first, or that's at least our aim. If we can do it, then great. But either way, we are looking forward to implementing a community on Reddit.
Alrighty, good stuff, good stuff. So Echo Patient asked, also just a little side note, we're getting sort of close to the end of time for today. So if you have any remaining questions, try to get those in, and then we'll probably take care of just the questions on here, and then that will probably be enough to kind of wrap us up for today. But Echo Patient asks another good question. I understand that a Bitcoin bridge won't be available at launch of the vaults, but is there a service that yAxis will partner with or recommend for wrapping BTC? So, Bobby, I think you're probably best positioned to answer that if you can. If not, we'll just shelve that one for now and hit it with a soon TM.
Yeah, I mean, we were originally in talks to partner with another protocol to bridge native Bitcoin over to the vaults essentially. They haven't found anyone else to partner with so far, so potentially there's something in the future for us to do to sign off that partnership. But for now, that's not going to happen for the start of the era at least. So yeah, for now we'll focus on wrap Bitcoin rather than native Bitcoin. That's the only thing. So it's not a big deal. Wrap Bitcoin is getting ever more popular. So we still think there's tons and tons of TVL out there in that in a wrap Bitcoin variant at least to deposit into the vaults. So yeah, not a big deal right now, but it's for sure something we want to push for in the future to have any sort of on ramp for Bitcoin. In the same way which we're pursuing on ramps for fiat as well. There's several options for that which we're looking into. So that will be another great feature to add as soon as we can.
Alrighty, thank you for that. Flynn asked how many previews, Mr. You have a number?
Oh, I just answered with yes, but
Oh.
it'll be we'll give you a nice little preview of the website and another nice little surprise as well. But yeah, sit tight, soon TM.
How many previews? Yes. The Tisk as best kettle corn. Oh no. I'm not educated in that area. I don't know. Does anyone have a preferred kettle corn?
Chicago style. I vote Chicago style.
Apparently, Mr. is just a food aficionado because I could not tell you the first thing about Chicago style kettle corn, but we'll have to go with his recommendation. He got some props last week for his cheese selection. So Lucifer asked, please tell me there will be a dark mode. Actually, if you check out GitHub, Gouda is already in the lab on that, so yes, there will be. Oh yeah, I saw AE already got to that. It looks like besides some banter about kettle corn, there are no other real questions for the rest of the week. So great questions this week, guys. I think especially Echo Patient. I think you had some really fantastic questions, and Lover Plaid, really appreciate the comments on the forum and sparking some good discussion, and hopefully we responded to those as best as you could have hoped. And like I said, if we didn't, feel free to call us out and add something to the forum thread, and we will respond. And I think that was fantastic to be able to use your forum post as a component of the discussion today, since it was so topical and relevant. So appreciate that type of community engagement and input, and looking forward to seeing everybody around the Discord this weekend. And as always, we'll see you all next week. Appreciate it, and enjoy your weekend.
Thanks a lot, guys. See you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
See you next
Happy
week, guys.
Friday.
Thanks, guys.